So when Bushiroad announced that we're getting the Link Joker season coming to Zero, they said that it's going to last a whole 8 months actually, which is a pretty long time. So we're basically looking to be in this season all the way through April until May, until we finally get onto Legion. But, you know, when I thought about it, it's like that's a pretty long time, and then I kind of started thinking about all the releases that happened throughout the Break Ride era. And then when you think about it, Break Ride era actually took about a year, I think, to actually release all the products in TCG, because they took some breaks here and there where we had, like, you know, a month or two without any product. So it overall lasted an entire year. So in this video today, I wanted to take a look at some kind of like predictions. So again, emphasis, this is predictions, nothing confirmed, nothing of that sort, literally just how I think that they're probably going to be releasing the decks and the support for the different clans throughout the Break Ride era. And so this is just kind of how I think that it's probably going to pace out. Now, we already got Wave 1 Eradicators, first wave of Genesis, wave 1 of Liberators, as well as Ethics Buster in the first set of the Break Ride era. And we're also getting a clan event this month that I'm posting this in, which is August. At first I was thinking it might be Murakumo, but then when I put together this entire list of like the decks that should be getting supported, I feel like it's going to either be Murakumo or just Spike Brothers event again, because I feel like it's a bit too early for Grand Blue event, and they usually like to do Grand Blue event first, but I was like, well, Grand Blue, they probably want to drop Kokaitis Reverse as well, so that's probably not going to be for a couple months for now. But let's just take a look at how I think things are going to pace out. So that's what we got this month. So then September rolls around, and the interesting thing about September is that I'm going to put myself to the side a bit here so that I can kind of like put some cards up over here. But the interesting thing about September is that we got the story in Vanguard Zero JP right now. In the story, some of the characters use decks that are not released in the actual game yet. And the decks are actually like basically Jewel Knights. Coding uses Jewel Knights, so they're not, you know, they're not released yet in the actual game itself, but they are actually in the game as in the story. On top of that, there is also Celestials that Rekka used, and I believe also Blockade Inferno has also shown up as well. I think that's kind of it though. I think that looking at the September pack, we're probably going to be getting basically those clans. So I think Jewel Knights will probably drop. I think Blockade Inferno, possibly with Dauntless Drive Dragon, the Break Ride for Kagero, will also probably drop as well. On top of that, I think that we're probably going to also get Celestials. I think it's about time that we get them, because it looks like Celestials only have one triple rare as well, whereas in the story, for Jewel Knights, both Ashley as well as Salome are triple rares, whereas for Celestials, only Zerakiel is a triple rare, whereas Ramiel is a double. Then for Blockade Inferno, I think it was a triple rare. I don't think Dauntless Drive actually shows up in the story, but I mean, you know, Dauntless Drive is probably going to be a triple rare too, because it is a break ride that is also a cross ride. Now, the last clan that I think is probably going to be the like fourth one to round out the September release, I think it might be Aquaforce, because Aquaforce gets 3 waves of support throughout the Break Ride era. So the first wave is Genovius plus Revon and Transcore Dragon. So that's like, you know, the Ripple archetype plus Revon as a boss card and Transcore as the Break Ride. So I feel like that's probably a good time to release that. And then on top of that, they get the Tetra Drive Dragon later on, and then on top of that they get Maelstrom Reverse at the very end. So 3 whole waves for Aquaforce. So I feel like if they want to actually do all 3 separate waves, they're probably gonna have to start pretty soon. So that's why I think maybe Aquaforce will come out in September already. That's just kind of my potential thought. So that's kind of wave 1. Aquaforce is not the most dominant one. Tetra Drive was arguably the best one because it came with Tidal Assault as well, and so that's obviously a very big and important card. Then moving on to October. Here in October, I think that if Murakumo is not an event clan, this is probably where they're going to drop Murakumo, because here they can drop Murakumo with like they can start rolling out like reverses even slowly if they want to, but I think they might wait on reverses a little bit more, because the reason why I say that is that one of the problems with reverses, and if you don't know what a reverse card is, it's basically like a protagonist or like good character card turned evil that uses the lock mechanic on itself. So it self-locks its own cards to do certain things that the clan would normally do, such as retire cards for Kagero, restand stuff for Nova Grappler, etc. Or sometimes it does the opposite. So for example, like Novas usually restand their rear guards, but then the Nova reverse unit restands the Vanguard. Or for example, the DP one normally powers up itself, but the reverse DP card powers down the opponent's Vanguard instead. So it's like, you know, they kind of do the reverse of what they would normally do, which is very, very cool. But one of the problems with reverse that they made is that they released Wave 1 of reverse together with Link Joker's debut, which was still okay, but then they released Chaos Breaker right after that, which invalidated a bunch of reverse decks. So I think what they're probably going to do is release a bunch of reverses and then release them like maybe close to Wave 1 Link Joker, but wait a bit before dropping Chaos itself, because once Chaos hits, it's going to be a lot harder for these reverse decks to actually do much, because, you know, they get invalidated by Chaos to an extent, and that's a very sad thing to think about. So that's kind of the way I think they'll do it. So for October, I have written down probably Murakumo. At least, you know, the base of Murakumo, you know, with the ride chain. Then I think Bermuda. It's about time Bermuda. Prisms come out here, I think, as well. I could see Prisms also switching out with Aquaforce, maybe for the September release, but I'm not too sure. I feel like Bermuda's, they could probably, because Bermuda's in English. Like, I don't know if you guys remember this, but in English, the Break Ride releases were really messed up, because our first set was Bermuda's, and then we had BT11. And then we had the Daigo deck, and then we had BT10. So it was like slightly reverse order for whatever reason. I'm not really sure why. But so we had like Ripples and like Aquaforce be meta before Liberators even came out, for example. So that was kind of weird in English. But I feel like Bermuda would come out around here. Then some of you guys might have forgotten, but Oracle Think Tank had a extra booster in the Break Ride era where they had support for mostly, I would say it was Battle Sisters. So it was mostly Battle Sisters. I can actually check. I have the window open of like all the different products, and I'm pretty sure back then it was actually a Battle Sister. Yeah, it was Battle Sisters and Magus. So this was where Magus became an actual archetype with hexagonal and pentagonal Magus. So I could see that also being part of the lineup there. So they also get a countercharger for OTT in that set, which is very, very important. And then the last thing I think that will happen is another wave of Narukami. I think this is about a good time for a Narukami wave, because we need to, they already have the Narukami boss card that does like the front row field wipe for both players. So it was called Armor Break Dragon. So Armor Break Dragon needs to release, Cho-Oh needs to release, and I mean that's kind of it for, and Sweep Command, or Steve as a lot of older players like to refer to him by. So I think that probably would make sense for another Narukami wave. That way it's not like back to back, but relatively frequent, because Narukami gets a lot of support throughout Break Ride. I think a lot of you guys remember that. So that's what I think will be the case for October. Then looking at November, I think this is where, so another interesting thing about the visual of the Break Ride release is that they do Link Joker update 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, and then it's 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, and then it's 3.1, 3.2, 3.3. So I'm like, this feels like it's in certain arcs. So I feel like it's going to be kind of like divided by these arcs, and therefore going to be a little bit, you know, like split apart between like the things that happen in the season. So like maybe the first third of it would be more or less like the kind of like the tournament, the school tournament. And then after that, it's kind of like where the Link Joker stuff takes off, where it's like, you know, everyone's getting reversed, etc. And then the last third of it is like where they actually like start to counterattack, where it's like actually the time for the protagonist to counterattack against the whole reverse invasion and stuff like that. So I think those are probably like a third. So that's why I think, you know, we get onto Link Joker 2.1 in November normally. And so then November, I think, will be where Revengers come out, because that would be a good way to signal, you know, we're getting into the serious part of the season. Revengers come out, Dark Irregulars come out, Pale Moon comes out. Those are the two reverse decks of that set, I would say. So with Amon reverse and Lukia reverse, I think that would be a good time to release those. And I think to round it off, maybe Genesis gets their second wave of support with Fortuna, because Fortuna got her support there as well. We can also see a Tachikaze event somewhere around here as well, maybe a bit earlier than that too. And then I think that kind of makes sense thematically to kind of throw things around over there. Then I think that we need to also, maybe we'll also see Gold Paladin thrown into this as well, just to release the Garmor card in here as well. So this could be where we see Wolfang Liberator Garmor come out, just to give a little bit of support to Gold before we drop Link Joker. I think that might be the case there. So then moving on, I would say that when we move on to December, this is where Link Joker Wave 1 comes out. So by Link Joker Wave 1, what I mean is the Break Ride, Nebulor Dragon, who was terrible back in the day. Like, people really overhyped that card and it didn't end up topping much because it was just too slow. And also Schwarzschild Dragon as well, because Schwarzschild actually has a pretty good shot in Zero because of its on-hit. So that will be already potentially the first kind of like meta deck for Link Joker, but it's not Chaos level yet. Therefore, if it's not Chaos, it won't be kind of like destroying reverse decks as much. That's why we can take some more time to start pushing out reverse decks. So in December, I would say, together with the release of Link Joker, I would also predict Great Nature, Dimension Police, Angel Feather, and Nova Grappler, those 4 to get their reverse units. So Great Nature gets Chat Noir and Leopold reverse, then DP gets Daikaiser as well as reverse Dayusha. That will be literally, my money will sink. Oh god, that would be Christmas season too, that's terrible. Then Angels would get Ramiel reverse around that time, I would say, and Novas get Ethics Buster Extreme as well as Ethics Buster reverse. So that would be a pretty packed set with a lot of stuff, but I think it would be a pretty good one just because, I mean, it kind of lets you drop a lot of stuff in one. The only thing is maybe you would also need to fit in either November or December, would also have to fit in Vowing Saber reverse too. So maybe in the November set you throw in Vowing Saber too, because I mean, Vowing Saber doesn't really need much support around it. Much like how they dropped Ethics now in the first set, they can kind of drop Vowing Saber around the same time, I would say, because it's like, it doesn't really need to be kind of like, you know, you don't need to like drop a whole big wave of cards together with it, especially because a lot of the cards that came with Vowing Saber have already been released in Zero. So this is where all the Dungaree cards came out, where Rising Phoenix, I think, either got its reprint or its first printing even. So a lot of Dungaree cards were in that set from Narukami that I'm looking at, and that was kind of it. So it's like, they can easily release Vowing Saber reverse and just leave it at that. I think that would be perfectly fine, honestly, for Narukami. So they can just throw it in, basically. So then we get on to January. So January would be the last month of this like 2-point Link Joker update. And so here I would see probably like Chaos come out. I think they would probably release Chaos the month after that, so they would make, this is where Link Joker, you know, spirals out of control, or, I mean, depends on how they treat Locke, of course, we don't know anything about that, but I think together with Link Joker, we could see Alpha-Force, so this would be Tetra Drive releases. I think Tetra Drive makes sense here, because it's kind of, it was kind of the deck that could fight against Chaos, because it didn't really, you know, it could just set up these attacks pretty well, and it was just a very consistent deck all in all. So I could see, you know, Tetra Drive come out here, Nubatama as well come in with Kujikiri Kongo and, you know, stuff like that. I could definitely see that, and Kabuki Kongo, so that entire Nubatama build would probably release here either as in the gacha or as an event, but I feel like Nubatama was pretty popular at that point in time, so they could release it as a gacha as well. And then I could also see Blouse and Nouvelle being thrown in here too, because Blouse and Nouvelle were both extra boosters. So there was a separate extra booster just for Novas and just for Kagero, and those brought Galaxy Blaukluger as well as Nouvelle Vague, and those were both like very, very powerful decks. Like that was insane support for both clans, and I feel like they need to fit it in somewhere. Also, I should have mentioned, I think when we get Jewel Knights next month, I think we will get Sanctuary Guard at the same time, because Sanctuary Guard actually came out before Jewel Knights in the English format and just after Jewel Knights in the Japanese format, so that's why I feel like we'll probably get Sanctuary Guard around that same time. That's what I kind of expect here. So then, moving on into February, I would say we probably get Minerva here. So probably the big chase cards of that set would be Minerva, Ganslot Zenith, as well as Azel Scissors, so I could see those as well. Yatagarasu for Genesis as well, so like a big Genesis booster with Minerva in it, of course, that would be very good for promoting it. Then I could see like Ashley Reverse coming out as well, because that way they can like round off the last Jewel Knight support for a very long time, actually. We won't get support again until, well, I guess in Legion technically you can count Swordmate, but yeah, then on top of that, I think we're probably going to be seeing I would say Tempest Bolt by now. I think Tempest Bolt will probably come out with Ignition Dragon, so that was like another pair of boss units for Narukami. Narukami just like changed boss units like it changed pants, like honestly, Eradicators in particular. So that was really just like on and on and on, just kept switching into different ones, and you can never really say which one's better or not because they were all very good. Then I would say we get to March. So March, probably would see Venus Lukier come out. So this is where we kind of start putting the last bits of the Link Joker season. So I would say Venus Lukier, Maelstrom Reverse, Dauntless Drive Reverse, as well as the second part of Bermuda. So Bermuda's second part is duos. So a Rate comes out. So Rate was like the, you know, the Miku for Bermuda's, and drawn by Miku's artist as well, if you didn't know that. So I think March would probably be that kind of set. So it's like Bermuda's plus like the final few reverses, as well as Venus Lukier, basically. So, like, I think that's a good set because you basically, you have a lot of waifus pushing it, like, you know, with Venus Lukier and Bermuda's, and then you can also throw in some other stuff in there as well. And then finally, I think that the perfect set to end on for the Link Joker arc is probably going to be Glendios, because, you know, it's Glendios, it's the final boss of the entire season, Monarch Sanctuary Alfred as the kind of counter to it, as well as Drag Ruler Phantom as the final boss for Avengers, as well as Draconic Overlord the Rebirth, together with its Break Ride counterpart, probably being the final releases for the Break Ride era. So I kind of imagine it like that. Again, like, this was just me basically taking all of the support that came out throughout that entire era and just trying to, like, piece it together, position it throughout these months, because we have the exact time frame and we have these dates of like Link Joker 1.1, 1.2, right? So I feel like those update numbers mean something that is probably like in terms of arcs of the story. So I tried to kind of position them around that and try to figure it out along those lines. So of course they might be jumbled up a fair bit. The one I'm pretty confident in is that I'm pretty sure that they're gonna be dropping Celestials and Jewel Knights at the very least, and probably Kagero 2 next month. And then I'm pretty confident in November having Revengers, actually. Like Revengers and like maybe the first couple reverses, I could really see that. Of course it could go completely differently, but I just wanted to get this out there, you know, this little prediction on how I think that the rest of the Link Joker releases will go. So I think this was a pretty fun thing to do. So guys, honestly, in the comments, let me know your predictions for how the releases will go in this format as well. Do you think there should be a bigger break between Wave 1 Link Joker and Chaos, you know, or should they just kind of like just drop Chaos immediately together with Nebula Lord and just nerf him a little bit? So like, just let me know your thoughts, guys. I tried to kind of replicate, not just replicate the TCG, but also accommodate for some of his issues, like the reverse issue that I told you guys about earlier in the video. So I feel like that would be a pretty smart thing to do overall, but we'll see how Game Studio decides to plan it out. But hey, I mean, if I'm right 100% on these, then I'll feel pretty good in like 9 months time. So yeah, on that note, that's basically it for me today. Thank you so much guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.